Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour, your source for all hard rock, heavy metal, new metal, alternative, punk, horror punk, hardcore, rock, and all local bands, with your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather.
This is Harley Flanagan from the Cro-Mags, and you are listening to BODS Mayhem Hour. That's what's up.
The views and opinions of the guests do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Radio Network, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Radio Network.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather, and as always, I am bringing you guys and gals awesome interviews. Today, it's an honor and a very huge privilege to have Mr. Harley Flanagan of Cro-Mags. Earlier this year, Cro-Mags released their EP, Don't Give In, and you want to check that out. Also, Cro-Mags have released their new single, From the Grave, and will also release their EP entitled From the Grave in December. And Cro-Mags will also release their new album sometime in 2020. So a lot of good stuff coming up from the mighty Cro-Mags. And we got Harley on here to talk about this. So welcome to the show. Thank you so much for taking some time out, man.
Oh, man, thank you for having me, and thank you for that wonderful introduction, man. Wow. We were talking a moment ago before we got on the air, a little bit about the impact that music can have on people. And, you shared a couple of things with me, and quite honestly, it really is amazing, and when you express yourself through music and your feelings resonate with other people so deeply, you never would imagine that when you first start out, or at least I didn't, because, I've been playing music my whole life. You're just really just expressing yourself. But I guess that's kind of what brings, what brought, the hardcore scene together in a way. In the beginning, we all kind of identified with each other and with each other's problems in one way or another, and and the music was an outlet, and it's amazing, Anyway, thanks for having me on the show.
No problem.
You just got me thinking when we were talking before. That's all,
It's the truth, man. It's so truthful about how music is a bond for people who feel like there's nobody that cares or nobody that, wants them in their little niche group, as I should call. I think that when people lock onto a band and they like that band, and I don't care whether it's bluegrass, rap, country, whatever it is that helps you to get through that, hey, go for it and just stick with it and stick around, because there are people that do care and love you. That's for sure. Absolutely.
But also, I was actually thinking about this earlier, and it's funny that we're on this topic, in times of depression, songs can also become addicting. I think back to, I was listening to like some Stevie Wonder song today and like some old song, and I was remembering listening to that a lot when I was young at some point or whatever. And I'm like, it's funny how like you create soundtracks for your moods and stuff like that. But it's like, so I mean, music really is a release, but we also have to, we can't allow like negative cycles to become like their own form of sense gratification. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just start going over and over and over and like playing the same depressing song because for whatever depressing reason. And that's not really, that's not, I mean, I guess to some people that could be a release, but some people that could be really bad, really, really self-destructive.
Yeah. Exactly. I know exactly.
You got to find, at least for me, I used to deal with a lot of depression and stuff like that. So like I would like wallow in it, and then I realized, that's exactly what I was doing is I was wallowing in it instead of like just handling it, dealing with it, and moving onward. So that's really kind of where I'm at.
Harley, going through the legal battle, do you feel this is a huge victory and relief for you to still carry on Cro-Mags, create music, booking, promotions, and all that good stuff that comes with all this?
Absolutely. It's giving me the freedom to be creative again. It gave me a record deal that allows me to start making music. And really that's all I ever wanted to do was make music, You get back to work. I mean, that's what I do. That's one of my greatest joys in life is writing and playing, So now I have a budget to do it again. I got 2 record deals. I got a strong team of people behind me, and it's great, man. I'm super excited.
June 28th, Cro-Mags released their first new music in 20 years. And that floors me, but unfortunately that's true. 3 new songs, Don't Give In, Drag You Under, and No One's Victim. How good does it feel to put out music for Cro-Mags? And did you think it would be 20 years before another Cro-Mags song would be recorded or released?
You know what? I did not think it would be that long. I have put out a bunch of stuff in between, but it wasn't under the name Cro-Mags, so it didn't obviously have the same type of impact, and it also didn't have the same type of budget. So it probably is better off that this is the first real Cro-Mags release because, again, I finally have the right type of budget behind it to make it live up to what it should be. And I got, some great players. Actually, guys who all were in the Cro-Mags at different points. And for instance, Gabby Abularash, he played with the Cro-Mags on Alpha Omega as well as the album Near Death Experience. And, of course, Rocky George, who was with Suicidal Tendencies and also most recently was playing with Fishbone. He played with the Cro-Mags on the album Revenge, and he is back on board with this album. And then, of course, I have Gary Sullivan, who's been playing drums with me and with the Cro-Mags since, I don't know, like 98 or 99 or something. So, I mean, he's had a long run with me. So this is definitely, it's a real Cro-Mags album. And in a lot of ways, it's like the dream team of Cro-Mags lineups.
Yeah, it's kind of like an all-star figure, like an all-star team. Yeah,
it really is. And then for this most recent song, of course, we have Phil Campbell from Motorhead playing with slide guitar and leads on it. You were talking about bluegrass before. Well, so we got some slide guitar on this, which is super cool. Because I mean, who the hell has ever done slide guitar on a hardcore or metal record? Well, we have. It's cool.
Cro-Mags breaking down the doors of the barrier of music, folks.
yeah, man. You got to try. You got to try new things. You got to bring in inspiration and influences from other things, and
yeah, of course. What about the support from the Cro-Mags family after all this has taken place, and now you are solely going out and doing stuff with Cro-Mags? What about the support from the fans, man?
Well, for the most part, it's been great, and it's definitely shifting more and more positive. Obviously there was a lot of confusion at first because, there was a lot of misinformation going around for a long time. And the fact is I actually always had the legal rights to the name, and I had been sending out cease and desists to the clubs and merchandise companies and so on and so forth. But after a while, it really wasn't amounting to anything because I didn't have the money to go to court. As everybody knows, it's a really expensive battle. So these guys were basically like, it didn't matter how many cease and desists I sent. So finally, I was able to go to court and shut this down and kind of make things right. And now the records are coming out again, and also now you can actually download Age of Quarrel and Best Wishes and all those songs for the first time.
I'm going to talk about this bad boy because I listened to this and it floored me. You have released a new single, From the Grave, and that's going to be on the EP, which is going to be released in December. Lemmy came to you in a dream and said, "Take it back, mate." And plus you said, you got Phil Campbell on guitar doing this. So I want to talk about how this came together. And I know you guys toured with Motorhead and Megadeth for a very long time ago. But how did this come together with this From the Grave, man?
Well, it literally came together like that. I woke up and I was like, and I looked at my wife and I was just like, I just had the weirdest dream, or I just had the craziest dream, whatever the hell I said. And I told her, Lemmy just came to me in a dream and said, take it back, mate. It's yours. You started it. And literally that was kind of the impetus for me launching into not just the legal battle, but so when I started recording it, that was like in the back of my head, and I reached out to Phil Campbell, Lemmy's guitarist, and I was like, would you play on a song? And I told him, I'm sure my label would be willing to throw you some money, and he was like, I don't need any money. Just send me the tracks. I'll be happy to do it. And I was floored. I was so honored, and it's awesome.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say Lemmy. The spirit of Lemmy actually came to, but it sure as hell felt like it. I mean,
Sure.
I know Lemmy, and that was Lemmy in my dream, and that was him, and that was something he would say. So, it was just a dream, but it was a hell of a dream. And, here I am. Now I got the name back, and I got Phil Campbell playing on a song that's basically dedicated to Lemmy, Did
you get to tell Phil the story behind this? If so, what did he think about it? He's like, oh, my God, yeah, that's fucking Lemmy, man.
Oh, yeah, I told him. He was basically, that sounds about right.
And I love Phil's new band, the Bastard Sons. It's so good.
Yeah, man, they are really good.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize for a while that those are actually his Bastard Sons playing.
Exactly.
Those are his sons in the band.
Yeah,
that's really funny.
Yeah,
those kids play, and actually, one of his sons engineered the track. Well, he recorded Phil's tracks on the record, so he gets some co-production credits on there.
And I hate this, and I'm not knocking anybody on this, but you guys need to open your ears and expand. They gave his band shit for this, and I'm like, no, Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons, this is good stuff. You just got to get out of your box and just grow.
Hey, you know what? It's really difficult when you come out of a band like Motorhead to try to do anything that isn't exactly that,
Sure.
But I mean, that's like what people pretty much, have to expect from him at this point, And you can't really have Motorhead without Lemmy. I mean, Phil is his own guy, and he has a lot of his own stuff that he's exploring musically, I mean, you can't have Motorhead without Lemmy. So Phil's doing his own thing, and I think there's some really good songs, and I think there's some really interesting stuff as well. So, God bless. I'm happy that he's doing his thing.
And you can't have Pantera without Dime and Vinny. You can't do it. There's no way.
You really can't, You
Right.
can't. I mean, you can have like a tribute band of some sort, but, that's about the extent of it,
Harley, what's impressed or excited you the most about making the new EP and album, if anything? Was there anything you wanted to add differently to the new music, or keep it true to the Cro-Mags roots?
Well, the ingredients are more or less still the same. I'm just trying to refine the technique a little bit. I'm not, this is a unique lineup, so obviously that's going to come through the music. This lineup of players has never recorded together before, so that brings a certain element that's unique all to itself. But it's still true to the same type of riffs, the same type of songwriting. I think my voice has gotten a little deeper over time, so my voice sounds a little different. But throughout the record, it sounds different on different songs. So, and also I have Arthur Rizek producing and co-producing a lot of the stuff with me. So, he's got a good ear. He's, I wasn't sure about some of the songs and some of the riffs, and he was like, "No, that's awesome. That's definitely what I want to be hearing." and so that confirmed to me that I was going in a good direction.
Working with Arthur, though, did he push you? Did he get something out of you, man, that possibly somebody else may not have gotten, Harley? Possibly.
Well, I don't know if he got stuff out of me that no one else would have gotten, but he definitely helped me weed through it and gave me confidence in what I was doing, because I wasn't really sure, about some of it, and he was like, no, this is definitely where you want to go. And he does bring a lot to the table as far as sonically, he's a younger cat. He's more aware of current music than I am. I mean, he has a lot of knowledge of old stuff. It's actually amazing. Me and him, we sit and, have like spin-offs, where we just like crack out obscure records and and play stuff for each other. And I'm amazed at how much stuff that he knows from, like, not just like old rock, but just like old R&B and old, classic stuff. It's like, and really obscure stuff, so, I'm really happy to work with him, and hopefully we'll work on more stuff in the future. We've talked about it already.
These songs that's going to be on the new album in 2020, are these old songs that you had been setting on? Are these totally brand new? And did it kind of push you out of your comfort zone, possibly?
Most of them were brand new, as far as like, I wrote them all within probably the last, well, now it's been about 7 months or 8 months, but like they were all written right around the time that I was going into the studio. A lot of riffs that I would literally just put on my phone, and then when I was in the studio, when I was done recording the songs that I had set out to do, I wound up recording. I set out to do like 5 to 6 songs, and over the course of 3 days, I wound up tracking the basics for like 15 songs. So, I just kept, we just kept banging stuff out. And then I just kept pulling more songs and more riffs off my phone that I had been writing. And I was like, let's try this. Let's try that. How about this one? And then we'd, set a click track and just bang it out. And before I knew it, we literally had like 15 songs to pick and choose from. I'm not sure if all of them are going to make it on the record, but it's, that I was contracted to give them a minimum of, I believe, 12 songs or 11 songs for the record. So I wound up with some extras, and who knows, they might all wind up on there.
Yeah, that's going to be my next question. If there's any songs going to not make this album, are you still going to use them on a next album down the road, possibly?
Probably not, because the next record will be recorded under different circumstances, and I want to keep the sound kind of consistent. So if anything, if there's leftovers, maybe it'll come out on a single of its own or something like that. But, there's that option, or there's the option of just making it a long record. I mean, It has been, 20 years since Cro-Mags record came out. So, I mean, part of me wants to just give them a good long record that we could almost perform as a set in itself if we wanted to.
A good kick in the face. Hello, folks, we're not dead.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, some of it's still writing new music,
What phase right now are you into the new album? Is it almost done, or are you still actually working on it?
Oh, no, it's done. I mean, it's been done, but then I actually just recently decided to do a couple of the vocals over. So now that our tour is finished, I'm going to go back in and like retrack probably like 3 sets of vocals. But again, we do have like 15 songs, so I'm going to retrack those vocals, and then we'll see if the entire thing winds up being on the record. It's going to have a little bit to do with sequencing and what songs what songs we feel are best for the record. There is some stuff on there that's a little bit experimental, because actually one song was written for the soundtrack of this movie that I'm actually in, called Between Wars. And it's instrumental because, it's for a movie, so it gave me the freedom to get a little weird, and it's like a different time signature. And I actually got this dude playing cello on it, believe it or not. And
nice.
So again, but it's for the soundtrack of a movie. And it's I think it's cool. I think it's pretty heavy. That's actually going to be on the single that the Phil Campbell song is on.
I think that's pretty badass when you can incorporate different things. Hell, look at Zakk Wylde. He did banjo on his Pride and Glory album a long time ago when he first started. So, hey.
Yeah. I mean, hey, you know what? I was inspired. This guy plays cello in the subway right near my job, and I was passing him every day, and I started coming up with this song idea, and I was like, that cello would sound really cool on here. And then one day I approached him and struck up a conversation. So I brought him into the recording studio. This guy was like, he's a really talented musician, and he had actually never been in a real recording studio situation before. So it was cool. He has a really interesting story, and it'll be in all the liner notes and stuff. It was just it's a real New York moment.
Harley, any tracks standing out more to you than any right now on the album that you can talk about? I know you're close to all these songs, and they change every time, but are there any that stick out for you possibly?
There's a lot of different things about it that kind of hit home. There's a lot of different subjects on here that are important to me. I mean, whether like there's songs that deal with like PTSD, and there's songs that really deal with struggling with mortality. I mean, it's like you got to understand. While I was writing this album, first of all, I had lost my friend Bourdain not that long ago, to suicide, obviously, and that really was really is still a difficult thing for me to kind of deal with. I really missed the guy a lot, and while that was going on, I also had I had lost my mother to cancer not that long before that, and then my brother-in-law was struggling and eventually died from cancer. And so it's like and then while we were in the studio, lo and behold, my guitarist girlfriend of many years also lost her battle with cancer. So, I was really, it was a heavy time. And, I'm watching people who are really struggling, holding on, trying to fight for their life. And then I watch one of the few people that I really, really looked up to, and I watched him just give up on life. And so all these things were they were really kicking my head around. So obviously this wound up affecting some of the lyrics, and I got this one song called "No One's Coming," and basically the idea of the song is, you're on, sometimes no one's coming, you got to do it yourself. And it's really it's not a song about like despair, like, oh my God, no one's coming. It's more like a song about, you know what, motherfucker, buck up, man. It's like, you got to do it. You have to do it. There's no one coming to get you through this now. You got to do this. And I really believe in, fighting onward when you're under the gun, So all of that is in this record, It's a pretty heavy album lyrically,
What do you hope everyone takes away from, or message you hope they hear while listening to any of Cro-Mags music in general? I know there's different flavors of the songs out there, but what do you hope everybody gets from it in general, Harley?
Well, different records and different time periods have different, subjects I was writing about. And actually some of the old lyrics, don't really reflect so much where my head is at this point in life. But really the one thing that seems to resonate throughout is the struggles that we face as individuals and overcoming them and finding the strength, no matter how hard the times that you're going through, to kind of like battle onward. It seems to be the thing that people get out of it, and that seems to kind of run across the board. I mean, I had Jocko Willink, who's like, I don't know if you know who he is, but for those of you who don't, he's one of the most highest decorated Navy SEALs, and he's really one of the most badass people I know. And I had the honor and privilege to be on his podcast, and he told me that my music got him through some of the toughest parts of his life. And when someone like that says something like that to you, it really kind of you realize that, wow, the power of, like me and you again were discussing earlier, the power of music. It can really give you sometimes strength, and and who knew? It just, for me, it was just a way of expressing myself, lyrically, physically, sonically. It's my art, my gift, one of my joys, and by by some sort of good fortune and or blessing, I've been able to give some people some positive.
Yeah, and there you go again. We come back to the song "No One's Coming." I mean, somebody hears that off the new album, that could give them a swift kick in the ass and say, "All right, look, I've got to do this. I've got to get off my ass. I've got to do this. This is me. No one else has got to do this. I've got to do this." So it comes full circle, man.
I forget. I think I got that from a podcast or a conversation I heard from some combat veterans talking about a situation where they were like, okay, look, no one's coming. We got to do this. Like, we're on our own here. And I was just like, pow, if that doesn't just sum it up. Like, you know what? Now you got to dig deep, and I was just like, you know what? That's what you got to take through life,
What about the artwork for the new album, Harley? Who's doing the artwork? Possibly, if you even went down that route yet.
Well, we've been working on different concepts, and I'm not going to give them away, but elements that, for instance, the singles have a little bit of a taste of the direction it's going in, like some of the elements that are going to be in the artwork, but I can't really tell you what the photographs are going to be. Nothing that's been on the singles thus far.
In your own opinion, Harley, what does Cro-Mags still bring to the table for music that's not out there as of right now, if anything? I know no one's reinventing the wheel, but my God, you guys have kicked the door in for hardcore stuff.
Well, you know what? I think it's kind of like saying, what does Motorhead still bring to the table, or what is Sabbath still bring to the table? Not that I'm comparing myself with either of those great and legendary bands, but what I'm saying is a certain level of consistency. Like the songs are still coming at you with the same type of musical integrity. What they're not the same songs, but they have the same ingredients. It's not the same riffs, but it's the same vibe. Now, there are new elements and things that I've brought into this record just to be a little interesting, but really, if you strip it down, it's the same thing, same beast, same animal. I did, like I said, do this one little weird instrumental thing on it, and so that's a little weird. And I threw some samples and stuff on there, but all the samples that I threw on there are things that I just literally recorded in and around my neighborhood and on the subways using my cell phone. So it's not like, oh my God, he's using samples. It's like, no, what I'm doing is I'm giving the listener a little, a window into New York and the sounds of what I experience and what I listen to every day, just for the sake, just sonically. I'm just giving you so that wherever you are, in whatever part of the world you're in, you're like, all of a sudden you're in New York for a second, So that's some of the elements that are on there that might be a little different,
With the catalog of music that you guys have out, is there any songs that you would like to eventually add into the set list for a live show?
Well, to be honest, we just finished touring Europe and the West Coast, and did a bunch of shows on the East Coast, and before that, I think we went out to. We've been bouncing around. We did like Oklahoma and all these shows with the Misfits, and we've been pretty much mixing up the set of songs from just about every record. We obviously with the Misfits, we only got like a 30-minute set, but we made sure to do at least a couple songs from every album, including a new song. which we just finished a video for. There's a song off the single that's called No One's Victim that we just finished shooting a video for that should be out soon. Can't tell you when, but the editing is just about finished.
Opening up for the Misfits, man, the Misfits is an iconic horror band, of course, which is one of my favorite horror bands. But seeing them to come back together and plus having you guys open up for it, and plus everything that you've been through here lately, how does that feel for you, man? Does that like say, okay, this is the right step in the directions that we need to go?
Well, it actually, for those of you who know the details, you probably know what he's talking about more than others who don't. I've always found it inspirational that they got back together because I as a fan of music, that's what I had always wanted to see was, those are two iconic bands that I had always wanted to see come back together were, the Misfits and Black Sabbath. And, obviously for the longest time, who didn't want to see Van Halen come back together in their real lineup? You know what I mean? These are just bands that you want to see, that have a significant meaning to us culturally and you just want that, So like I understand, what that means as a fan of music. And when the Misfits pulled it off, I was like, this is awesome. Finally these guys are getting the payoff that they deserve. And, God knows bootleggers have been making a killing off them forever. And,
yeah.
Now they finally get, to get paid and the fans get to see it again. So, and as far as, for instance, like, the Age of Quarrel lineup and stuff, I'm sure, most people do know that I've been extending my hand for years to all those guys to try to make something of that nature happen. And so far, it seems like I'm the only person willing to have that conversation. And it's on them. I have a great lineup of guys who are all in their own right, have contributed to the Cro-Mags and are still currently doing so.
It'll happen. It'll happen, Harley. Trust me. I believe.
You know what? Honestly, if it does, it's because it's meant to, and if it doesn't, I could only say this. I know it would make a lot of people happy, and that in itself should be enough reason for the individuals involved to put their gripes aside. But obviously, not everybody's able to do that, and so. You can't necessarily force people to do things even if you know that they're the right thing. Everybody's got to want to do it.
I want to jump back to these EPs. The first EP that had the 3 songs and plus the newest one. All of these songs, are these going to be on the new album or is these just going to be just one-off EPs only?
They were all supposed to be on the album, and they probably all will be. Maybe 1 or 2 of them may not be. I'm not sure yet because, again, we have more than enough songs. We have 15 tracks recorded. We may add them and who knows, maybe do something a little different, redo the vocals or redo the leads. Who knows? But I can't answer that yet because, again, the album hasn't been mastered yet, so until it's mastered, really anything is possible. Until it's been mastered, there's always the chance you might want to go in and retrack a vocal or something.
I thought this is pretty cool when I was reading on this and absolutely laughed my ass off because this is absolutely awesome. The last show of your tour in Santa Ana, you guys stuck around after the show and a Depeche Mode cover band. This is absolutely hilarious. There was a Depeche Mode cover band guys started playing. So me and the people stuck around.
Yeah.
Harley's there, and everybody starts chanting Harley over top of the Depeche Mode cover band.
Yeah, man, it was really, really something. At first, me and all my friends are looking at each other, and we're like, are they saying what it sounds like they're saying? And then it just started getting louder and louder and louder, and I was just like, oh, my God. It was really funny, man. I don't even remember what song they were doing. It was like... holy crap, man. But it was funny. It was really funny. I mean, I was never really a Depeche Mode fan, but I had such a fun time that night that I got to say that Depeche Mode is taking on a whole new meaning. It was definitely a fun night. I mean, imagine that. It was just too weird. Anyway, just the fact that I was playing at a club the same night that after the show ends, it turned into like a Depeche Mode cover night. Like, what the hell? You cannot make that up. You just can't.
What made you want to become a musician, Harley? What was it spark for you that said, yeah, that's what I want to do?
You know what? I really cannot give you a real answer to that because I've really been just relating to music as long as I can remember walking. Like, I've just always felt impulse towards music where, you know how like you give a baby a drumstick and they'll just like whack it, you know, and I just always kind of had the feeling of where that whack was supposed to go. And from my early childhood, you know, I've always been percussive, and I was in the school bands when I was really young, you know, and we had an interesting school band in my first band. You know, we had like percussion sections and all kinds of stuff. We used to do like Santana covers and Kool and the Gang covers and stuff. So it was real funky, and so like that kind of started me off early on, and then and then I got into punk rock pretty much on the first wave of it, and that's probably what switched me over from getting into sticking with like straight funk and jazz and stuff like that. Punk rock kind of came and derailed me. And or some would say maybe saved me. I don't know. One or the other, derailed and saved, or something. I don't know. You know. Anyway, that happened, and you know.
So September 11th, 2019, you guys opened for the Misfits. You gave dedication to the victims of the September 11th attacks. This show was already emotional for everyone who attended the show, but for you, how important is it still to honor these men and women who lost their lives prior to you guys going into your set?
I get a little bit emotional just talking about it at all, because it's a day that as a New Yorker, as an American, but as a New Yorker, I will never forget, because I did see the towers from my roof where I was living in Queens at the time, and I ran up to the roof in time to see them and see the smoke from the first one and not really know what was going on. And I went down to get a camera because I didn't know if it was a fire. I really didn't know what was going on, but I went down to get my cell phone or whatever it was. And by the time I came back up, there was just, the second one had gone down, and there was just smoke. And I was like, so I mean, and just really the whole atmosphere of the city afterwards was something that I can really never forget. And so when people, especially like young people who weren't alive then, it doesn't seem to mean that much to them anymore. And it'll always really, I'll never be the same. I don't think anybody will.
No, I agree with that, because it seems like to me it was yesterday. You know what I mean? It's that stuck in my mind.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I still think that we should do more dedication to those folks. That's just me.
Yeah, I was actually surprised and a little bit disappointed that I was the only person who said anything that night. And but I know that part of going to a show is for a lot of people it is escapism, and it's to go have fun and to not get all emotionally and depressed and whatnot. But again, I think that part of the way to honor the dead is to really celebrate life, and also to celebrate their memory, and kind of always remember that, you know, we live such a short time on Earth, so when you do get to spend it with people that really matter to you, you're really fortunate.
I'll say this too, folks. I was a volunteer firefighter for 3 years, and I have nothing but the utmost respect for firefighters and what they do, because when we did I'm telling you right now, Harley, when we did our training courses and I had to go into a building and follow my teammate in front of me and grab onto his ankles where I could not see, oh my God. Yeah. You talk about reality hitting you. That's when you're saying, oh my God, am I going to get out of here?
Nothing but respect for those guys.
That's for sure. Women. That is for sure.
Nothing but respect. Nothing but respect. Anybody, as far as I'm concerned, that will put their life on the line for others is a true hero to me. You know, even if, you know, especially, you know, people will talk about people in the armed forces. You know, I mean, you know, a lot of times, you know, maybe you may not agree with whatever political causes or this or that, but you gotta respect anybody who's willing to risk their own life and for others. That's really honorable.
That's for sure. Now, you're a black belt in jiu-jitsu, which I thought was pretty cool. Are you still teaching it, man, or what's going on with that stuff now?
Yeah, I'm actually going back to work on Monday. I'm just enjoying my last weekend I got off tour. I gave myself a couple days to get over my jet lag, and after this weekend, I'm going back to Henzo's, where I will be once again running, of all things, the kids program and helping teach all the introductions to all the new students as they come in and sign up.
That's awesome.
It'll be nice to be back.
Folks, you want to get out and pick up all this music from the Cro-Mags, new album in 2020, the EP, Don't Give In, plus the EP From the Grave. You will not be disappointed. Pick up the old stuff as well. They've made a huge impact on my life. Harley, thank you so much. How can folks stay in touch with you, of course, buy merchandise, all this good stuff now? How can they do that? How can they keep in touch?
Well, I do have an Instagram. Harley F. Flanagan is the Instagram, and Real Cro-Mags is another Instagram page where you can find out what the Cro-Mags are doing and about merchandise and stuff. I do have my Facebook, Harley F. Flanagan. I think it may just be Harley Flanagan, but it's got my face all over it. There's only one face like mine. You'll know it, you know. And I do have the HarleyFlanagan.com website. So those are different ways to check in. RealCromags.com. But you know what? I just would like to say thank you for having me on the show, and you know, it was a real pleasure talking to you, and thanks for having me on.
I appreciate that so much, good sir. Would you care to do a promo for the show before I let you go?
Oh, absolutely. This is Harley Flanagan from the Cro-Mags, and you are listening to BODS Mayhem Hour. That's what's up.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up here on BODS Mayhem Hour and BODS Mayhem Radio Network. Please get out and check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link, YouTube link. Also, get out and subscribe to our YouTube link, because anything and everything will go up on there, and plus our podcast link. Also, get out and check out the Cro-Mags. You will not be disappointed. Great fucking music from these guys. Also, Harley, I wish you nothing but the best of luck, and I did mean what I said at the beginning of the interview. Thank you for your music, and thank you for just allowing me to escape out of my box and finally just get a kick in the ass of you know, not letting anybody stop me from what I need to do.
Well, it's an honor, and it's a privilege to have been able to be that vessel, and then and we are bonded, bro.
That's exactly right.
It's a beautiful thing, man. Thank you.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.